What's up, party people, and welcome back to my channel. So today I want to sit down and do a little comparison test with the Tati Blendiful Powder Puff versus the Kryolan Triangular Powder Puff. So I have already done a comparison review of the Blendiful to a couple of other cheaper alternatives, so I'm going to link that video up here. But in that video I had several people comment and recommend this Kryolan Powder Puff. I will say I do feel like the Powder Puff trend and phase has kind of already died out. Like videos I'm watching, people aren't really using the Blendiful anymore, so it's kind of died out a little bit. But honestly, ever since that video, I've really been into powder puffs, and especially these Yo Twin ones from Amazon, which I will link below. But just to kind of give you an update on my experience with the Blendiful, I honestly have had a very inconsistent experience with it. I had a really successful time with it for that first video. Like, I really enjoyed it. It performed beautifully, but honestly, it just works differently with every single thing that I use. I mean, not necessarily powder. Like, with powder, it's pretty consistent across the board. Like, it applies it nicely. But when it comes to foundations and concealers, which was kind of what I was most excited for, it works differently and it doesn't work as well for every other foundation I've used with it since then. And I don't know if it's because I've washed it since then. Like, it kind of seems like after I washed it, it just hasn't performed the same since. Yeah, I had a lot of recommendations to try this Kryolan one, so I figured I'd give it a whirl. But I've been talking way too much. Let's just go ahead and get into it. So I'm not going to do a full face. I'm just going to do my foundation, concealer, and setting powder. I'm not into doing the whole blush, bronzer, highlighter thing. Like, that's just not my gig. I like having different tools for different steps in my routine. If you like videos like this where I compare things side by side, then make sure you give it a thumbs up if you want to see more, and comment below what you would like to see me compare in a video. So subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and turn that notification bell on to always see my videos. And without further ado, let's do a little side by side comparison of the Kryolan Triangular Powder Puff to the Tati Blendiful. So my Blendiful is dirty, so I did flip it inside out, and I have the ribbon on the outside now, so this side is clean. And I was kind of leery of doing that at first because I had seen some videos where people would do that and then the ribbon would tear, but I've been very gentle and it hasn't done that yet. So I know I said I'm just going to do foundation and concealer and powder, but I do think I'm going to do a primer as well, like a pore filling primer, just because that's one of the whole spiels that Tati has talked about using the Blendiful for, and how amazing it applies a pore filling primer. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm not really going to give a lot of thoughts and commentary on the Blendiful side, just because I've already done that in that comparison review. Like, I don't want to be redundant and just say the same stuff over and over again. Just go back and watch that if you want to know how I feel about the Blendiful. But now I'm going to go into the Kryolan one. So here's what it looks like. So it's a triangular shape, and I will say I don't like the fact that the ribbon is very tight. Like, I kind of wish that the ribbon was kind of further down to where you had more space for both fingers instead of just one, because I feel like I don't have as much control when it comes to like bouncing and pressing. I mean, I guess I could just not use the ribbon and just hold it like this and have more control, but I like having the ribbon. I guess I probably should show you what they look like side by side and kind of go over like the fabric difference and whatnot, because there definitely is one. So yeah, the Blendiful has like this hairy kind of texture, like this hairy kind of fabric, whereas the Kryolan one, I don't know, like you can't really see it on camera, but it's not really hairy necessarily. It kind of just feels like a really soft pillow. This one is thicker, like it does have more cushion in it, so as you can see, definitely is thicker compared to the Blendiful. But as far as application, it is applying the primer and pressing it in really well, and actually my pores are more filled in on this side than the Blendiful side, but I actually feel like I have to use more product with this powder puff, and I'm not really sure why, because it's not like it's absorbing product. Like, I don't really feel like these absorb a whole lot, but it just seems like a little bit doesn't spread as far. But I will say a comment that I've seen a lot since my video is that the powder puff isn't the best tool for applying foundations and stuff if you have dry skin, because it does have a tendency to mattify a finish. Now, in my first video, I did test that theory by using a glowy finish foundation, just because I did think that that would kind of be the case, and it may have mattified it a little bit, but I don't really feel like it affected the finish a whole lot. Now, I don't have dry skin though, I have oily skin, so it's going to be different for different skin types, but I do want to point that out because that is something I've seen a lot. So I'm going to use the Dermablend Smooth Liquid Camo Medium Coverage Foundation. So this is a beautiful foundation. I love this stuff. I literally never use it though, but yeah, this has like a really pretty, kind of like a glowy satin finish, so I figured that would be another good way to test, you know, does it mattify or not. So I am finding that it is kind of mattifying the finish a little bit and making it look more powdery, and I didn't really find that to be the case in my first video because I used a L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow, which is super glowy, but I don't know, I just feel like this works so much differently after I washed it. I don't know if that's just me or if it's just, you know, maybe I was just having a really good skin day that day that I did the first comparison review, but yeah, it's looking a little dry on my skin right now. Let's go in and we'll use the little fat butt side. So yeah, again, the ribbon just isn't, it needs to be more in the center at least instead of further up. I don't know why it's so far down. So I'm just gonna hold it like a sandwich. Yeah, these powder puffs are definitely making this foundation look like it's matte when it's definitely not. Okay, so now let's go into some concealer. So I'm using a more hydrating concealer. This is not a mattifying concealer at all. This is the Maybelline Fit Me, just a tried and true. So if it messes with this stuff, like if it affects the way this stuff looks, it ain't me, it's them. Why is it like rubbing off? Okay, it's almost like if I do anything but just tapping it and stippling it in place, it starts to disrupt the product and move it around. And why is it's making my skin look so dry right now. Now let's go on this side, and I didn't get my chin with the Blendiful, so we'll let the Kryolan Powder Puff have my chin. Okay, so I actually got better coverage on the Kryolan side. I don't really know why. Okay, so I really didn't expect this to happen. So I'm gonna zoom you guys in and show you what I'm seeing. Hopefully, I'm gonna turn down my ISO and everything so you can see things, like see texture better. All right, so here's what it looks like. Blendiful side, Kryolan. So yeah, can you see all that like flakiness and texture and just how dry it looks? And this side don't look much better, but it does kind of look a tad bit better. It does look less flaky, but I don't really know if that's the powder puff or it's just this side has less issues today. I don't really know. I don't know, but all I want to do right now is just go into my little sponge and just fix myself. But we're going to go ahead and move into powder. I'm going to get some on there and then kind of zhuzh it together and then just sit right there. Like, I feel like this is not going to be a good outcome. I'm just going to set my under eyes and my T-zone, because if I go any further out, it's just going to be a disaster. So moving into the Kryolan one now, so I'm actually going to flip it over and use the clean side. I'm just going to get some on that pointy edge and again zhuzh it in and do the exact same thing. That definitely does really press it in. It just makes everything look really soft and airbrushed and kind of presses the powder into those creases and fine lines as well. But yeah, from side to side when it comes to the powder, looks no different. But okay, I swear, like every time I have to preface this by saying that I'm not just looking for a good outcome, okay? I'm not just looking for the Kryolan one to beat out the Blendiful because it's cheaper and I want it to work better and I'm against the Tati Blendiful. Like, it's not about that at all, but this side does look better. I mean, not a whole lot better, but just a little bit better. It doesn't look as dry and textured and flaky as the Blendiful side. And again, that could just be because my right side is more dry today. I don't really know why that would be, but it does look a little bit smoother. I mean, there are some textured, flaky, dry areas, but I do feel like my pores overall look smaller just everywhere. Not even just my T-zone, just everywhere. And the finish just looks a bit more smooth and satiny, I guess you could say. So yeah, there's my face products, and I was going to go off camera and do the rest of my face and come back and then give you my final conclusions and final thoughts and all that stuff, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it now. And I feel like I have been fairly clear up to this point, but also maybe not clear at all, because I just don't know. Like, I don't know why the Blendiful hasn't worked the same since the first time I used it. I don't know why it has completely given me different experiences since that very first time. I'm very perplexed. But as far as the Kryolan Powder Puff goes, its strong suit is definitely applying powder. Like, it just doesn't do the best when it comes to liquids or cream products. And by the way, this isn't the first day that I've tested this with foundation or concealer. I have used this with other foundations and concealers and liquid products, so I've kind of tested the waters a little bit, and up to this point, it's just better with powder. So yeah, my overall consensus is that with liquid and cream based products, I just prefer a damp sponge. Like, I just like the way it presses it into my skin better. It makes it more skin-like as far as the finish goes, and it just kind of upholds a little bit of luminosity, which is what I'm looking for. Yeah, that is it for this video. I hope you guys found it informative and helpful in some way. And if you guys have tried either of these, let me know what your experience is with them. And also, if you've tried the Blendiful, let me know if you had the same experience. Like, after washing it, did you find that it just started performing completely different than the first time? Just let me know so I don't feel crazy. But if you like this video, then make sure you give it a thumbs up if you haven't already, and subscribe to my channel. And I will see you guys in my next one. Mwah.